Hi, my name is Alan Sides, and when it comes to sort of what I do as an occupation, it's a little bit unusual because, of course, I'm a recording engineer, I'm a producer, I'm a musician, I'm a studio owner, I design studios, I design and build loudspeakers, I'm a microphone aficionado and collector, I design and build microphones, we build auxiliary gear, we have a rental company, we do turnkey studios at different clients' houses, and we manufacture a very wide line of high-end loudspeaker systems. Well, I got started originally, I was a musician, and I spent a lot of my summers in Hawaii. I had a lot of Hawaiian friends, learned how to play guitar and bass there. And I had a little band we used to play at cocktail parties and teen dances and such. Rock and roll, little jazz, little this. That was one of the things I did. The other thing I did was, I was at a very young age, I was doing installations of clubs and PA systems and discotheques. So I did one club there where I put a whole system in, and I built a little control room where I could record. And I started recording bands live in the club in Hawaii. In Los Angeles, I built my first studio when I was in 10th grade. I had a studio that was in an abandoned space underneath an amusement park called Pacific Ocean Park. And that was, I think we called it Acoustic Control Studio. It was my very first studio. And then there was a club above us. We were in the basement of this building, and above it was a place called the Beach House. It was a kind of a beer bar, rock and roll club. So I talked the bands into coming down and recording in my little studio. And back then we had two tracks. So we record the band live on 2 tracks, and then we would overdub. We'd actually play the track and record the vocals live to another machine. And that would be our finished mix. And we just cut the tapes together to get the best takes. And that was my first studio, which would be probably 1968, I would guess. I'd always built and designed speaker systems. That was one of the things that was very profitable for me, but it was also really fun to do. And so I built my first really real commercial studio was the original OceanWay on a street called OceanWay in San Monkey Canyon, which is in like a 3 to 4 car garage, where I built a fairly elaborate studio. But to some degree, it was still more of a demo room for my speakers than it was a recording studio. And I did it partially because I needed to record impressive sounding material to play on my speakers. And what happened is clients began to come in, and I started recording music, and I sort of switched gears a little bit. And we did, I think, 50 albums out of the garage. It became a very successful commercial studio. And then we moved. The neighbors started complaining because we had so much stuff going on, so we moved to Hollywood in our 6050 Sunset building, where we still are. Well, you know, as a studio owner, of course, we've had some very unusual sessions, some very interesting sessions, some very eclectic sessions. I mean, some of the more unusual, I remember when Phil Spector came in to recapture the Wall of Sound, and he brought Celine Dion in. It was maybe the last hurrah. And we had like 3 drummers and 5 guitar players and 6 percussionists, and I don't know how many, you know, it was quite an entertaining session. That was kind of fun, but maybe, you know, I mean, standing there when Whitney Houston recorded I Will Always Love You, you know, watching her do it in one take, that sort of thing. Or when Natalie Cole did Unforgettable, you know, with a full orchestra, but singing to her father's thing for the first time with Johnny Mandel conducting. Or even just dealing with Green Day, you know, during all of their projects. Green Day's been with me pretty much from the beginning. You know, watching American Idiot go down, and then we do such a variety of music at our place where one day it might be Andre Previn, and the next day it'd be 50 Cent doing In the Club, you know, so it's a real mix of music at our studio. Well, you know, as far as working with artists, the most important thing for me is that they are comfortable in such a way, at least on a sonic level, that what they hear in the headphones always sounds like a finished record. With me, there's no such thing as a rough mix. When I'm doing a session and they walk in for a playback, I want it to sound like a record. And when the vocalist puts a set of headphones on, I want the verbs and everything to be just flawless, so they feel that it's just incredibly easy for them to sing. I was doing a thing a while back with producer Ron Farrow, I work with a lot. We're doing a duet with Mary J. Blige and Bocelli, which is kind of an interesting mix. But after we finished that session, Bocelli and I just hung out trying microphones and experimenting with stuff. He was looking for a period 47 that really worked on his voice, and he would, when he's singing the more pop stuff, he's got a very lush, rich voice, but when he sings more operatic, he goes into that, it can be a bit bright, and so finding the mic that really hits the bill is kind of intriguing, and so we spent a whole evening together just experimenting with microphones and such. I enjoy working with new artists as well as, you know, established, shall we say, legends. It's sort of fun to record people that you haven't done before. I've been lucky enough to have a shot to record a lot of interesting, unusual people. But like I produced a Catherine McPhee record last year, and Catherine's just a young, you know, artist. I mean, she was big on American Idol, but God, what an amazing singer! Just ridiculously great singer, and really fun to work with. But sometimes, you know, you're working with people who really can't sing, And so there's the art of manipulating and time correcting and pitching and making it all flow smoothly. And that's sort of a, it's almost like working with a band that can't play and coming up with something that all of a sudden sounds, rather good. Because some people, maybe they can write a good melody or they can write a song, but they can't quite pull the whole bag together. So it's fun coming in and sort of getting it into a finished version that actually sounds like a record. We have our main studios in Hollywood, which really incorporates 4 rooms and a mastering room. Then we have Record One Studios in Sherman Oaks. That's where Dr. Dre lived for 5 years, and so we did the Eminem and 50 Cent records there and Dre stuff. But that studio, Def Jam, has that right now pretty much locked out for their projects, and that's got 2 big rooms. Then we have OceanWay Nashville, and OceanWay Nashville has 3 rooms. The biggest room, you can do an 80-piece orchestra in there. I did a Faith Hill album there not long ago. I was working some tracks on Faith's new record. And it's a gorgeous studio. And then we have, of course, OceanWay St. Bart's, which is sort of our very designer room, and it's basically in a beautiful villa on the beach. I think the Robb Report said that our villa on the beach is one of the 10 greatest accommodations in the world. At OceanWay, one of the things we've always done is once again do high-end installations specifically for certain clients. And in the last 3 years, we've really taken that to a more commercial or a more broadband approach. In other words, I've done studios like Dave Grohl came to me and he says, I want to build this studio and I want it to be like OceanWay B and I want it to be whatever. So I designed a studio for Dave Grohl and I helped him get all the equipment put together. Rob Cavallo, who's president of Warner Brothers, I helped him build his studio at his house and I helped him equip it and put my speakers in. We did like the executive conference room at Disney has our monitor system all set up and acoustically treated the space. And so when I did Skywalker Ranch control room, I redesigned part of the control room and installed my speaker system there. So we've always done those sort of installations, but now we're doing a lot of ultra high-end hi-fi. We're doing a lot of nice installations. I did one for Gwen Stefani's husband at her house, and I did one for Beck. And we're doing more and more of that sort of thing. And we now have a full line of speakers we did a system in Singapore that's a multi-million-dollar speaker system. And we're doing a lot of installations in Japan, in Hong Kong, in China, and now our next thing is we're going to be opening up some more OceanWay rooms. I can't disclose the locations, but there's going to be 5 new rooms in 3 different countries that are OceanWay rooms built to our specs, license agreements. We will partially operate the rooms, but they'll be under the OceanWay banner. So that's what we're working on right now. Well, we have, I think, a fairly phenomenal sound library. And OceanWay Drums, I think, it was one of the best reviewed drum sample libraries ever to come out. And we have a new OceanWay Drums 2 that's going to be coming out in about 3 months. We also have an app which is coming out, which is based on the original Alan Sines microphone cabinet that Mix Magazine did years ago, which is sort of a how-to on recording, and it allows you to actually listen to say 10 different sets of microphones on snares and cymbals and pianos and instruments. And it's so that's my friend Steve Vai has been working with me on that, and that's coming out probably in about a month. Billy Putnam and UREI, or should I say Universal Audio, we're working on a new product which will be announced probably in the next couple of months as well. In regards to the SD650 microphone, I've been looking to this for quite a period of time, and have worked on custom microphones for us, but not for any to be sold outright. And of course, we have a rather dramatic collection of period microphones that we restore and that we repair, and that we know them very well. And so when I was approached about potentially doing a microphone, I said, well, I'd be very intrigued if we can find a basis. So we did about a year of experimentation on various versions and capsules and sizes, and I came up with a configuration that I very much liked. And what I was looking for was a microphone that would sell for a reasonable price, being in the $1,000 range, that would be pretty stellar for vocals or stereo overheads or a guitar, kind of an overall microphone. So if you were someone at home, like a lot of our clients, who just want to do really great vocals, great backgrounds, maybe some stereo percussion, you could buy 2 of these things for not an outrageous price. It's not like going and spending $10,000 on a pair of classic tube microphones, but these things sound pretty spectacular. And and so the other thing, of course, was getting a microphone that sounded that good, that was consistent, where we could actually be able to deliver, that it would fit within a certain range, and that if you bought one of these, I knew it would fit within that thing. And that took us months of experimentation and trial there to get that quality control up to the level it needed to be. And the result, I think, was a pretty spectacular microphone. One of the things we're working on now is, obviously, we do these very large, very elaborate systems for studios and control rooms for people who have no limits. And what we're trying to do now is to build a more modest-sized speaker, shall we say, that still delivers, the kind of impact and level and extended bandwidth that I like. And so the AS1, which is actually right here, we have a pair of them right here, is, I think, a fairly amazing speaker for its physical size, in that it actually is flat to 25 hertz and it produces some pretty amazing levels. As I say, because of the diversity of my clientele, I want some people who are looking for total audiophile, total accuracy, and other people who just want it to rock and want it to be ridiculous. That's what Dave Grohl says, when he cranks it up, he's looking for, he doesn't want a hype, but he wants something that will give him the satisfaction that he's done a great job and it's really delivering the goods. And I think that that's our newest line. That's what we're working on right now.